Hey, up for a visitor?
Absolutely. Can rescue me from all these journals.
So how's the hand?
Well, second-degree burns don't exactly tickle. Could have been a lot worse. Medication has taken my nausea away. And that pain in my head is down to a dull ache.
So when you out of here?
Today.
Glad to hear it. I've seen some bad electrical shock accidents. You were lucky. So, what's with the cop at the door?
My accident wasn't an accident.
You're kidding.
I wish I were. Someone rigged my light switch to electrocute me. Fortunately, my building had old wiring and the circuit breaker shut the current off. If it weren't for that, I'd be toast.
Wasn't your character in General Homicide electrocuted?
Well, that's not where I go with it. Do you remember that I overheard you and Ramsey discussing DL-56?
Yeah? You don't think I had something to do with this?
Well, I think I know you better than that, Frank. It's Ramsey I wouldn't put it past. And if Chris thought he could make a quick buck by selling your DL-56 story to the tabloids, and I threatened to get in the way, how far would he go?
Well, Chris would do anything for Chris, but if you were set up to be taken out like your character in Kevin's book, my money would be on the General Homicide killer.
Ready?
We can activate a trace on every line. The trap is set.
If our guy calls in, keep him on the phone as long as possible. Whatever you gotta say, whatever you gotta do, just do it. The trace only takes a matter of seconds. I want to give my men enough time to get there and pick him up.
I'll keep him on as long as I can. It's a good plan, Garcia. Don't look so nervous.
I'm not nervous. I'm not the hunk of meat that's being dangled in front of the shark.
I know you don't like using civilians in sting operations, but you didn't cause this. The killer using my book did.
Let's just hope his attachment to you is strong enough that he'll call in.
I believe it is. Hopefully we can flush him out. We'll put an end to this.
Either that or we could provoke him into trying to kill somebody else.
You know, before he attacked Matt Harmon, when he called in, he said that he felt neglected. Maybe by giving him some attention, we can give him a distraction from killing.
I'm not happy he tried to hurt Matt, but it could help us catch this creep. We kept the attempt on his life out of the paper. If we get a caller that knows the details, it's a good shot that it's our killer.
We're ready to go.
In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to Tell Me About It. Our guest today is Dr. Kevin Collins, author of General Homicide. Dr. Collins?
Hello, Port Charles. I'm here to speak to the person who's using my book as a manual for murder. I heard your last call to the radio station. You asked if we'd forgotten you. Well, I haven't. Why don't you give me a call and we can continue our conversation?
Lance Pharmaceuticals wants to see for themselves how this drug affects people. You're the key to some very big money.
If what I heard is true, I'm turning you in.
Ramsey, I have a question for you. Relax. Got your DL-56. Thanks anyway, but that's not the question. Matt's near-death encounter with the light switch was no accident.
Are you serious?
See for yourself. There's a cop outside of his hospital room.
That means the General Homicide killer tried to strike again.
Oh, Matt figures it was you.
Me? Well, Matt's paranoid. Why would I try to electrocute him?
Because he overheard our conversation about DL-56 and threatened to bust you. What was it you said to me yesterday? If Matt tells anyone about DL-56, your career goes down the tubes? Huh? That sounds like a motive to me.
You were the one who said we had to figure out a way to keep him quiet. I suppose killing him is one way.
Matt happens to be a friend of mine.
You would do anything to get your hands on DL-56.
I didn't do this.
I didn't either.
Dr. Chris Tyson, physical therapy.
Now listen, have you forgotten that there is a homicidal maniac running loose in this town trying to get his total in the double digits? Maybe he did it.
And you're not him?
I have an alibi, remember?
Oh, that half-baked alibi for Devlin's murder. Give me a break. Grace took her last breath with your stethoscope wrapped around her neck. You are as much of a suspect as anyone.
Well, the same can be said for you. And your girlfriend, for that matter.
You leaked Julie out of this. So where were you last night when someone tried to fry Matt?
Where was I? Where were you? Climbing the walls after shooting up your candy?
I'm the one who brought Matt in.
You could have rigged this place before you went on duty. Sounds like the kind of thing you could do. Unlike me, the only screwdriver you'll find in my hand is the kind that's loaded up with vodka.
I don't need your accusations or your wisecrack off me.
Before you lose control, why don't you think about where your next dose of DL-56 is coming from?
I guess we'll have to finish this later.
Yeah, well, I'm all broken up.
Yeah, don't tempt me.
Why hunt down all these people in my book when it's clear that I'm the one you want? Call me. Put your cards on the table. Tell me straight up what this is about.
Maybe we'll find out who this maniac is today.
Maybe we will.
You think Frank and Ramsey tried to electrocute you?
I don't like suspecting Frank. But I know that Chris would backstab his mother for $50.
But they're not even pals. I mean, the last time I heard, Frank couldn't even stand the guy.
Well, he and Chris were mixed up together and something to do with Jake and Karen's drug they were working on.
It doesn't sound right. I mean, Frank is a friend. He's a good guy.
I consider Frank a friend, too. But listen to this. Frank told me that he wasn't in detox for pain medication. And before Devlin was murdered, he gave Frank DL-56, Jake and Karen's drug. He got hooked on it. He was injecting himself.
Well, wait a minute. What does this drug do?
Well, according to Karen, it promotes nerve regeneration. But it also has the unfortunate side effects of causing erratic behavior and extreme aggression. And the lab animals that were given the drug, they were just freaking out, even after the drug was completely out of their systems.
That sounds like those guys that are taking that bodybuilding steroid.
That's a good analogy.
So you think that Frank had a permanent personality change because Devlin was shooting him up with this
DL-56. Devlin or Chris.
Oh, man. Or Frank. I mean, it's hard enough trying to kick a habit, but to do it because somebody else has gotten you hooked, and that's a tough break.
It's criminal.
So, you think that Frank may have had a personality change by using this drug that would make him try to kill you?
Well, I can't say for sure, Mike. But anything's possible.
Matt, I mean, it's a stretch, even if Frank had been using a drug like DL-56, okay? Now, Ramsey, on the other hand, that's another story.
Mike, 4 people are dead. I was going to be number 5. I'm not ruling anyone out.
Kevin is on the radio. He's trying to get the murderer to call in.
Could you take a deep breath and calm down, please?
But I do have a heart-shaped mole on my thigh.
I'm not disputing the existence of a mole on your thigh. I'm just saying it's a mole that I've never seen.
You mean you didn't base the character of Beth Lambeth on me?
Since I've never even met you, it's safe to say I didn't base any character on you.
I was sure she was me. I used to volunteer at General Hospital.
Well, I know it can be disappointing to learn that you weren't the inspiration for any character in my book, but take heart in the knowledge that you're safe from the General Homicide killer.
Dr. Collins will be taking more calls when we return from station identification. Clear. I'll be right there. WLPC, Port Charles.
Well, we have people calling in. Unfortunately, they all have a complaint or a fantasy about my book.
Why do you think our guy's holding back tonight?
I don't know. It could be he's just not free to make the call.
Maybe he left his voice activator in his other coat.
I think he's enjoying the game. He knows we want him to call, but he likes watching us wait with bated breath. He's getting off on the power.
I can't wait to nail this loser's carcass to a wall.
You and me both. Well, we have plenty of calls. Let's hope one of them is the one we want.
In 5.
I'm on.
4, 3, 2.
This is Kevin Collins, author of General Homicide, taking your calls.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello? Who is this?
You said you hadn't forgotten me. Don't you recognize my voice?
I haven't forgotten you.
I warned you that someone else would die, and I'm not even close to being finished.
What do you mean you warned us that people would die? No one's died since your last call.
Someone almost died.
Who almost died?
Dr. Mad Harmon.
That wasn't in the papers. I wasn't aware anyone tried to murder Dr. Harmon.
You think that electric shock he got was an accident? Think again.
You caused Dr. Harmon's accident?
Yes.
That's the animal who ripped your apartment.
How did you do that?
It was easy.
It may have been easy for you, but not everyone could do something like that.
Oh, it worked perfectly. I took the light fixture off and split the wire, running half of it down the chain that turns on the light.
Fascinating. But how could you be sure that Dr. Harmon would use that light?
I made sure the overhead light was out, so he would have to turn on the booby-trapped light. When he pulled that chain, he got the jolt of his life.
Oh, my God.
This guy's a sicko.
Listen, if we can find Frank or Chris while Kevin still has this Fruit Loop on the line, then we can be sure that neither of them did this to me.
Are you going to be all right here?
There's a cop at the door, yeah.
All right, I got it.
All right, listen, you take Frank and I'll go and look for Chris.
All right, okay.
Listen, just locate them. Don't get in their faces. But hurry up while Kevin still has a guy in the front.
All right.
What about the attempt on Dr. Harmon?
Did that have something to do with what you said the last time you called? That you felt neglected?
What does it matter why I do what I do?
Oh, I see.
You see what?
That it's very lonely where you are. Here you are committing all these spectacular crimes, eluding the entire police department, and there isn't a single soul that you can share your accomplishments with. No wonder you feel forgotten. You must have an incredible urge to take credit for your work.
I'm not stupid. I realize that's not possible.
Then why feel forgotten? When I was a child, I felt overlooked by my mother. I hated it. Did you ever experience something like that?
That's you, Doctor, not me.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure. After all, you and I share quite a connection. I wrote my book as a way to pass the time, but eventually I realized that I was exercising demons from my past. That's what you're doing, isn't it? I vented my anger vicariously through my book. But what I did in art, you're doing in life.
Oh, so what are you saying? That I'm your evil twin? Oh, that's right. You already have an evil twin. Except you murdered him. And that was for real, not in a book.
My brother died in an explosion. But not one of my making.
But you were glad about it, weren't you? You wanted him to die.
Well, what about you? Do your victims have to die for a particular reason? Is there something that happened to you that they have to pay for? Well, I think there is. Often for us to create a new life for ourselves, we have to destroy the old one. And that's what you're doing, isn't it? You seem to know a lot about my family and my past. Do these murders have something to do with yours?
Nice try, Doctor. But if you think you're going to get me to tell you about my mommy dearest, think again.
So this is about your mother.
Oh, how Freudian. Don't be so literal, Doctor. No wonder you can't figure me out.
Maple, fourth and Maple. Keep him on the line until we pick him up.
You're right. I can't figure you out. But you want me to, don't you? You want to be understood. That's why you keep calling me. But you have to help me. The more you can tell me, the more I can understand.
How do you choose your next victim?
I didn't choose them. You did.
Yes, you continue to murder people who appeared as characters in my book. But you're doing away with them in your own sequence, not according to the plot of General Homicide. How do you decide who to murder next?
That would be giving you too big a hint.
You're not worried you'll lose the element of surprise, are you? You're obviously very intelligent. Don't you want your victims to have a chance? Wouldn't that be more of a challenge?
Hey.
Hey.
Did you find Frank?
He's out on an ambulance call, but I left the page and left your room number.
Well, no one called. And Kevin's still on the phone with the guy.
Yeah, I heard. All the radios in the place are tuned into that show.
I tried the nurse's station, the on-call room, and I walked the 6th floor. No sign of Chris. I paged him, but he hasn't returned the page.
So both Chris and Frank are unaccounted for.
But it still doesn't mean that either one of them is the creep on the phone with Kevin.
But they both could be.
Why did you pick my book to copycat your crimes?
I'm not copying you or anyone else.
No. Well, of course you're not.
Actually, your crimes are way too creative to ever be called copies. And by rearranging the victims in the order that you attack them, you're actually rewriting my novel. That's something else we have in common. You have a bit of the author in you.
There's another way we're alike.
What's that?
You've had your dark days, haven't you, Doctor?
Would you like that to be true?
If it were true, then you'd really be able to understand someone like me, wouldn't you?
I want to be able to understand you, but you have to help me. Let's start with your victims. Why kill Bennett Devlin?
Because he deserved to die! They all deserved it!
You've said that before. But why him? What was his crime?
Too many to list.
Then tell me his worst.
If you're as much like me as you claim to be, you'd understand the method to my madness.
I can't yet. But I could if you tell me why you did what you did.
Are you just lying about wanting to understand?
Why would I do that? What would I have to gain? Hello? Hello?
What's that you say at the end of a session, Doctor? Oh, I think our time is up.
No. No, wait.
Damn! Comb the area. This is Garcia. Get a fingerprint technician to 4th and Maple.
Detective Garcia, look who I found down the street.
This is Kevin Newman.
And Lisa McCree. Tomorrow, director Brian De Palma on the making of Snake Eyes.
Plus a preview of the hottest new toys before they hit the shelves. That's tomorrow on Good Morning America.